Mr. Speaker, I raised my concerns about the Harper government's decision to shut down the experimental lakes area May the 23rd in question period. It's good to see the NDP following the Liberal lead and going on record with me today at a joint media conference to preserve the experimental lakes area.
Faster than ever.
The ELA, as it is known,
Go ahead, John. You got the floor.
the experimental lakes area is instrumental in understanding the approach needed to clean up lakes like Lake Winnipeg, which have been so beset by problems under this NDP government. So I ask the Premier, since the phosphorus coming from the City of Winnipeg sewage is the single largest point source of phosphorus going into Lake Winnipeg, when will the phosphorus be removed from the sewage coming in from the City of Winnipeg?
First of all, I'd like to thank the member for joining together with this side of the House on the Experimental Lakes project. It's nice. I can feel we're converging on this issue, and I know the member wanted to be involved, and he was involved. And there was a press conference all across the country today on the Experimental Lakes research area because of the tremendous value that research has provided to the entire planet. It has saved Lake Erie. It has done research on phosphorus and nitrogen in lakes. It has brought forward cutting-edge research that has been the basis for our Safe Lake Winnipeg plan. The member knows full well that just this last year, about this time of the year in June, we had a bill in the House on Save Lake Winnipeg. And you know what, Mr. Speaker, we had unanimous consent to support Lake Winnipeg. And then, in the election, the members of the official opposition decided to go another way and reverse themselves on it. But as long as we're in the House, I'm sure we have consensus on saving Lake Winnipeg and the research in the experimental lakes area.
Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the NDP government has presided over the largest increase in algal blooms in Lake Winnipeg in the history of our province, and of course cared so little for the environment that one of the first things they did was kill the Manitoba Environment Council. You know, it's very sad when the NDP are unable, after having been in power for 12 and a half years, to even tell us when they are going to be assured that the phosphorus is removed from the City of Winnipeg's sewage. Mr. Speaker, I ask the Premier, why has the government in 12 and a half years so badly failed to get the phosphorus removed from the City of Winnipeg's sewage?
I appreciate the question from the member because our Save Lake Winnipeg plan has been one that was broadly supported in the House, not necessarily supported on the hustings when we were out during the election period. But the reality is we have strong legislation in place. It does talk about removal of phosphorus from the City of Winnipeg system. They've done it in the West End treatment plant. They've done it in the South End treatment plant. They have a plan. They have a requirement to bring forward an effective plan for the North End treatment plant. We look forward to that plan. We know that that plan will make a difference. It's not the only source of pollution that goes into our rivers and streams, but it's a significant one that is one part of the overall solution, and the member knows full well that we'll follow through on that. I thank him for his support.
Mr. Speaker, it's odd that the government, after 12 and a half years, is not talking about when the phosphorus is going to be removed.
Right,
it's talking about when they are maybe going to have a plan sometime.
No,
That's not good enough, Mr. Speaker. The NDP government are the ones with the power to ensure that phosphorus is removed from the City of Winnipeg sewage in order to help Lake Winnipeg recover from the devastating algal blooms which have plagued our wonderful lakes since the NDP government came into power.
Blame it on agriculture.
Why has the Premier, I ask the Premier, why has he allowed the City of Winnipeg to continue dumping large amounts of phosphorus into Lake Winnipeg for 12 and a half years?
Speaker, as I said in my previous question, the phosphorus is being removed in the West End plant. Phosphorus is being removed in the South End plant, as well as nitrogen. The North End plant is retooling as required under our legislation. We're doing things with septic fields all across the province. We're doing things in terms of storing waste from hog barns in Manitoba and reducing the impact of hog barns on the environment. Everybody in this House supported that legislation until we went into an election. And then when the official opposition walked outside the door, they said something completely different outside the door. They said one thing here in their vote. They said another thing outside the door. I appreciate the fact that the Liberals are consistently supporting our plan to reduce phosphorus in Manitoba.